That day, the spring air felt incredibly gentle. Sunlight slowly filtered through the white curtains by the classroom window, reflecting off the rows of small wooden desks I had arranged since dawn. The scent of fresh markers mixed with the aroma of children's books neatly lined on the colorful shelves in the corner of the room. If there was a place in this world I loved the most, this classroom would be it. I always tried to make the room feel like a second home for my students. There was a large chalkboard covered in star stickers, a small globe with fading colors, and drawings they made covering all the walls, from rainbows to houses to the silly little monsters their wild imaginations created. The kids even named this room the Sunshine Room because, according to them, the light here always feels friendly. That morning, everything was perfect. One by one, my students entered the room with bright smiles. There was Lily with her ever-glowing yellow ribbon, Noah with his untamable hair that looked like it had never met a comb, and Mason, who always carried a lunchbox full of cut fruit. "Good morning, Ms. Collins," they shouted almost in unison, waving their tiny hands. I returned their greeting with a wide smile. "Good morning, Sunshine Squad," they giggled, those small laughs that filled the room with a warmth only children could create. And as I watched them take their seats, my heart overflowed with gratitude. Nothing felt strange, no bad feeling, no sign that this day would change my life forever. I still believed it was just an ordinary morning, a peaceful morning, a perfect morning. I didn't know that soon one of the desks in the front row wouldn't be occupied by the child who was supposed to sit there, but by someone who shouldn't have been able to return. My mind replayed that thought over and over, even though at the time I didn't fully understand what it meant. All I knew was that everything shifted the moment the school bell rang, a soft chime that usually made the children scramble to their seats, but now sounded like a strange signal that slowed my heartbeat. I closed the classroom door gently, then turned around to begin the lesson as usual. But the moment I looked at the desks in the front row, my steps froze. There was a child sitting at the desk closest to the board, a small body, neatly combed brown hair, a slightly wrinkled uniform like it had once been ironed but left folded for too long. He sat upright, hands placed neatly on the desk, staring straight at me without expression. And what froze me wasn't how he sat, but who he was. I knew him. I knew him very well. His name was Evan Parker, my student, a polite, bright child who always finished his assignments before I even asked. The kid who loved helping his friends clean the board. The one who always drew tiny stars in the corners of his notebook whenever he finished a math exercise. The boy who had died a month ago. I swallowed hard, my hands turning cold as though I had dipped them into ice water. I didn't scream or make a sound. Something deep within me froze, while the world around me kept moving as if nothing was out of place. "What are you drawing, Mason?" "Lily, don't forget to bring your book to your desk." "Miss Collins, can I have more paper?" The other kids went on as usual. None of them looked at me, and not a single one of them turned toward Evan. Even the desk he sat in was the desk that had remained empty for 4 weeks, the desk I couldn't touch without letting out a sigh. I forced myself to step forward. Every step felt heavy, as if the floor had turned into sand. I tried to breathe slowly so I wouldn't look shaken. When I was just a few feet away, Evan slowly lowered his head, not in a creepy way, actually in a very polite way, like a child asking for permission, like the Evan I used to know. H. Evan? My voice barely escaped. He didn't answer, didn't move, but something about him sent chills across my skin, not fear, but an indescribable ache in my chest, like seeing someone you deeply missed, someone who shouldn't be there. I blinked once, and when I opened my eyes, the desk was empty. No one there, no sound, no sign he had ever been sitting there. Just the small wooden desk with the star sticker Evan himself had placed a year ago, looking slightly duller than before. My throat tightened. How could I have seen him so clearly? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice as I continued the class. All right, kids, let's begin. But before I could finish, a soft knocking sounded on the classroom window. Tock, tock, tock. The sound was gentle, steady, like someone tapping with the tip of a fingernail. The window was right beside Evan's desk. I looked at the glass and saw a small handprint slowly appear from the inside, even though I had just cleaned the window until it was spotless. The size of the print was that of a fourth grader's hand, and the shape was exactly like Evan's. For a few seconds, I just stood there, frozen, staring at the small fingerprint that slowly faded like mist dissolving in the air. My heartbeat thudded in a rhythm I had never felt before. Not pure fear, but a blend of grief I had buried for weeks, and the mystery unfolding right in front of me. The children didn't notice. They were busy with their books and colored pencils, as if their little world was untouched by anything I saw. I had to stay composed. I was their teacher. I couldn't show panic. But deep in my chest, a realization began to form. I needed to know what was really happening with Evan. I needed to know why he appeared, or what he was trying to say. When class ended and the children ran outside toward the playground, I sat at my desk and looked at Evan's empty chair. That small seat felt like the center of something I couldn't explain. The sunlight streaming through the window traced soft lines across the wooden surface, as if trying to reveal something. I reached for Evan's old notebook, the one I had kept in my drawer for the past month as a quiet tribute. Its light blue cover still had the star sticker he placed there himself. When I opened the first page, I froze. There was a writing I had never seen before. Evan's handwriting, small, slightly slanted, unmistakably his. Ms. Collins, I'm not finished. I held the page with trembling fingers. Warmth filled my chest, followed by a cold shiver running down my spine. Not finished. With what? His lessons? Something he wanted to say before? Everything happened? I made up my mind. I had to uncover the truth behind Evan's passing, not only as a teacher, but as someone who cared for him. But the stronger that resolve grew, the more obstacles appeared. That evening, I headed to the school's archive room. The place was silent, lit only by a flickering hallway bulb that seemed unsure whether it wanted to stay alive. Tall shelves filled with folders and papers lined the walls, keeping decades of the school's stories in their dust. I searched for Evan's file, attendance sheets, report cards, health records, anything that could help me understand. But then something felt off. Everything was neatly organized, except for one. A thin, beige folder sat crooked at the bottom corner of the lowest shelf. Its edges were bent, as if it had fallen or been shoved in a hurry. His name was clearly printed on the front label, Evan Parker, student record. I swallowed hard and opened it. The moment I flipped the first page, every light in the room dimmed at once. The shadows cast by the shelves seemed to stretch, as if moving with my gaze. I froze, no sound except the ticking of the old clock by the door. And then, jerk, jerk, jerk. A faint sound came from the shelf behind me, something like a book sliding itself out. I turned. The wooden shelves stood tall like silent guardians. One book slowly slipped forward, stopping right at the edge. Incident reports. Title: School Maple Incident Hills Archives. Elementary. My heart Incident jumped. Report. Why Archive. That book? Why that one? With shaking hands, I picked it up. As I opened the first page, I noticed a small piece of paper tucked inside the middle of the book. It was pale white, as if it had been hidden for years. I read it, and my entire body went cold. I didn't leave. I've just been waiting for you to find it. E.P. Evan Parker. I went still. My knees weakened. Evan, are you really trying to talk to me? Before I could process anything, something else happened. A gentle breeze, though there were no open windows, swept behind me and flipped the pages of the archive book on its own. Not violently, not fast, very slowly, as if guided by small hands showing me where to look. I glanced down at the opened page. At the top, it read, Incident Report, Room 4B. My classroom. The moment I read that title, the lights flickered harder, then went out. The room went dark, silent. And in the midst of that darkness, I heard something that made the hairs on my arms stand up. The sound of a small chair being slowly dragged, a sound coming from Evan's desk. In the pitch-black archive room, the sound was startlingly clear. The tiny scraping of a chair sliding across the floor, a soft creak as if someone had just sat down or stood up. My breath caught in my throat. I paused, hoping it was just an illusion or some noise from another room. But it wasn't. The sound came again. Gurg, gurg. Interrupted, repeated, slowly, as if someone was moving that tiny chair back and forth. My rational mind tried to find an explanation. Maybe it was a drip from the AC or a gust of wind through the vents. But the other part of me, the part that had seen Evan sitting in the classroom, that had found the writing in his notebook, that had received the note signed EP, that part knew this was no coincidence. I had to make a choice, stand frozen in the dark, waiting for something to happen, 0-0, or summon the courage to find the source of that sound. I exhaled slowly. I'm here, Evan, I whispered. My voice was barely audible, but somehow that made it feel more real. I groped for the light switch, and as my fingers brushed the wall, the light flickered on by itself. Not fully bright, just a dim glow, like a nightlight. And in that faint glow, I saw it. The small chair in the corner, the one kids usually used while waiting to be picked up, shoved itself slightly toward me. It didn't jump or slide quickly, slowly, carefully, as if a small hand was pushing it from behind. My heart melted and froze all at once. Evan? My voice broke halfway. I stepped forward, but as I approached, the entire room suddenly plunged into darkness again, completely off, as if the power had been cut. I held my breath. The archive room fell silent once more, but not normal silence, more like waiting. And from that darkness came a small voice, not a chair, not a step, but a boy's voice, calling softly. Ms. Collins. It was gentle, like a whisper from the far end of a long corridor, a voice I never thought I'd hear again. I closed my eyes for a moment. Evan, where are you? No answer, only silence stretched like a dark curtain. I searched for the voice's source, feeling along walls, tables, shelves. My heartbeat raced faster. Evan was calling, not to scare me, but because he truly needed something. He needed me. Finally, I found the emergency switch tucked beside the door. With a little force, I pulled it down. The backup light slowly flickered on, filling the room with a soft yellow glow. And under that light, a small piece of paper lay at my feet. It had fallen from the archive book I had opened earlier, as if someone had deliberately pulled it out and dropped it just for me. With trembling hands, I picked it up. The handwriting was small and slightly slanted, the same as Evan's writing in his blue notebook. "Don't look for me at school. Go to the last place I saw the sky." I froze. The last place he saw the sky? I racked my brain, revisiting everything I had heard from Evan's parents, his friends, the school staff, all the information I had let slip by because it was too heavy to remember. Then it hit me. On the very last morning before Evan left us forever, he had attended an outdoor class near a small hill behind the school where the kids often played and watched the clouds. He always said the sky looked wider from there. I had to go to that hill. I had to do it tonight. But as I turned to leave, the archive room door slammed shut on its own. Brack! I jumped and immediately grabbed the handle. Locked. I pulled, pushed, pressed. It wouldn't budge, as if the room didn't want me to leave. I slammed the door with my shoulder. "Please, open!" Even my voice sounded more nervous than I felt. And just when I felt utterly trapped, the overhead light snapped back on, bright. The door slowly swung open, as if someone had just released it from the other side. I looked down the empty hallway. No one. But in that moment, my resolve solidified. If Evan was calling me to that hill, I would go, even if I had no idea what I would find. I took a deep breath, grabbed my jacket from the teacher's lounge, and stepped out into a night that felt increasingly unfamiliar. Without realizing it, the choice I made would lead me to a truth far greater than I had ever imagined, and far more terrifying. That was the feeling pressing against my chest as I crossed the school's backyard toward the small hill carried by the night wind. The sky was dark, but not completely silent. Leaves whispered softly, as if sharing secrets they didn't want me to know. I turned on my phone flashlight. The thin beam bounced off the dew-soaked grass. Every step felt like being drawn towards something I could no longer avoid. The hill wasn't far, yet tonight each step felt like 100 uncertain meters. When I reached the top, everything looked the same as I remembered from school activities. A small metal swing, a wooden bench where kids often sat watching the sky, and a large maple tree swaying gently in the night breeze. No one was there. "Evan," I called softly. Only the wind answered. I stepped closer to the swing. Its seat rocked ever so slightly. Even though no gust was strong enough to move it, I swallowed hard. I knew this wasn't a coincidence. As I approached, the swing stopped, right when I stood in front of it, as if waiting for me to touch it. And the moment I reached for its chain, a street light down the hill flickered once, twice, then went out. The atmosphere shifted into silence, a silence not natural, a silence that made the hair on my neck stand on end. I slowly lifted my head, and that's when I saw him. Beneath the big maple tree where Evan often sat during outdoor classes, a small silhouette stood with its back to me. The boy's body was dark, except for the outline of his shoulders faintly illuminated by moonlight. He didn't move. He didn't turn, just stood, waiting for me to come. "Evan," I whispered, my voice catching. The small figure slowly turned halfway. And at that moment, the air around me changed, colder, denser. I took a step forward, but suddenly, someone tapped my shoulder from behind, soft, light, like a child's hand. I spun around. No one. When I faced forward again, the silhouette was gone. Only the wet grass moved with the wind. I hugged myself. Evan, I'm here. Please show me what you want me to know. The maple tree swayed harder than before, and something fell from one of its branches, a small object catching the beam of my flashlight. I approached cautiously. When I bent down, I saw it, a small medal. I knew that medal. I had given it to Evan myself 3 months before he left, the most helpful student medal he had proudly cherished. But something was different. On the back of the medal, a new inscription had appeared, something that wasn't there before. Short, but enough to take my breath away. I am not alone. My body stiffened. Not alone? What did he mean? Who was he talking about? Before I could think further, a sudden gust of wind blew from behind, pushing my hair into my face. I turned instinctively, and that's when I finally saw the twist I never could have imagined. Down the hill, near the school fence, many small silhouettes stood in a line. Not one, not two, more than 5. Their small bodies stood rigid. They faced me, heads bowed slightly, as if waiting for a signal. Moonlight glinted on something, tiny school badges pinned to their chests. Maple Hills Elementary. My heart felt like it had fallen into a bottomless well. If these were shadows, why did their shapes appear so real? And the thought that made it nearly impossible to breathe. Each silhouette held something in their hands, a small piece of paper, the same size as Evan's note from before. One silhouette in the middle slowly raised its paper, as if wanting me to read it from afar. I squinted to see the words clearly. The writing on the paper, faint, yet my heart read it perfectly. Please finish what was left unfinished. The wind stopped. All the silhouettes bowed their heads simultaneously. Then they vanished, slowly, like fog swallowed by the night wind, and I stood alone on that hill, holding a medal in my hand and facing a truth I could no longer avoid. Evan was not the only child trying to speak to me. There were more, far more, and they all wanted me to find something left behind at the school, something unfinished, something I must face, alone. Miss, I'm lost. The voice was soft, fragile, like a child crying quietly against the cold. But one thing froze me completely. The voice came from a corner of the classroom I knew was empty. I swallowed hard. My steps felt heavy, but the instinct I had as a teacher pushed me forward. Are you okay? I asked, whispering so my voice wouldn't crack. There was no answer, only the faint sound of dragging, scraping, as if something was crawling across the floor. I stepped closer and turned on the flashlight on my phone. And when the light pierced through the darkness, I saw him, a small boy sitting with his back facing me. His school uniform was wrinkled, his hair falling over his face. His shoulders trembled as though he'd been crying. Hey, are you? The boy turned around, too fast, too unnatural, his face. It wasn't the face of any elementary school kid I knew, pale, hollow, and his eyes, pitch black, completely black, like empty sockets swallowing the beam of my flashlight. Miss Collins, why did you leave me in that cold room? My blood froze instantly. I knew that name, Collins, my old name, the one I used before I transferred schools, before I changed identities after the incident years ago. The incident almost no one knew about, the one involving a student who, shouldn't know anything about it. I stumbled backward, my spine hitting a desk. The boy moved forward too, crawling, his body creaking as if his bones were being forced to move the wrong way. "Why did you leave me alone?" His voice echoed, splitting into two, then three, like multiple mouths were speaking at the same time. I turned away in panic and nearly ran for the door when suddenly, tra-kak! All the classroom lights snapped on at once. The school bell rang loudly, even though it was nearly midnight, and down the entire hallway, one by one, the classroom doors swung open, my breath caught in my throat, because from each doorway, small shadows appeared, children, standing still, staring at me with the same pitch-black eyes. "Miss Collins, don't run again." The voice came from every direction. I screamed, but my scream was met with something far worse. Soft giggles, children's laughter, drifting from the ceiling above me. And when I looked up, trembling, I saw small hands dangling from above, reaching downward, trying to grab my hair.